Good afternoon, everybody. It is Tuesday, March 29th, 2022. And tonight we are going to be talking about the brief yield curve inversion that we had today on Wall Street. The S&P 500 closed up again for over the fourth day in a row. And Apple stock also is on a tear. Has yet to have a negative day or close in the negative, close in the red, for almost 5 consecutive trading days. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the possible implications of the housing market. I'm seeing some very interesting and kind of off-putting things in a lot of the single-family home builder stocks and a lot of the home builder stocks. Usually, if history will teach us anything, usually those stocks tend to roll over first, and then we see some pretty steady, if not severe, declines in housing. So we'll talk about the possibility of that. We'll see if home prices can come down. We'll talk about it. But I think the number one thing I want to focus on is this yield curve inversion. So let's see who we have in the chat. Hey, we have the one and only Joey Bianca M. Good to see you, Bianca M. Chris Beeman is here. What's up? What's up? Minraj says, hey, Tom. What's up? Jonathan Richards, welcome. Says, hello, Tom. Vinny Castellano says, I missed you last night. Glad to see you, my friend. Yeah, so there was no stream last night. I had to, I was pretty busy. I had to deal with a couple things. But it's good to see my friend Vinny Castellano. Bitzita Lopez, welcome. It's a beautiful day here in New York. A little bit cold, but look on the bright side. It's supposedly supposed to get up to 70 degrees on Thursday, so that should be pretty nice for us. Michelle McGraw is here. Says hello, everybody. Good to see you, Michelle. Hope you had a good day. Sheila Neal, my friend Chris Beeman from Arizona. Hope everybody's having a good start to the week. Tuesday now. Dean says hi, Tom. What's up, Dean? Mohammed says good morning, bro, from Malaysia. Good to see you, Mohammed, as always. I'll stand back so I could give you guys one more shot of the very iconic Empire State Building right next to the one and only Madison Square Garden. Solo 401 is here. Says wicked chilly. Yeah, it's freezing, man, for this time of year. Really surprised it's this cold. I mean, last night was so windy and so cold. It was very uncharacteristic. WC says good day in the markets today. Yeah, the S&P 500 I think is only spitting distance from all-time record highs, about maybe 4% off the high. Marilyn says checking in early from East 38th Street. Good to see you, Marilyn from Murray Hill. Lewis is here. Welcome, Lewis. It's good to see everybody. It's good to be back. I felt like I've been away for a while, but it was only a day. But one day is too much. So it's good to see everybody. Welcome, welcome. You know, a lot of interesting movements in this market. I think I'm seeing a pretty conclusive rotation back into big enterprise software. You know, we've been having a string of trading days in this market where a lot of the enterprise software as well as the SaaS or software as a service names are performing actually pretty well. A lot of them well off the lows. A good news is that they seem to be retracing back to their moving averages. So in this week's Behind the Street newsletter, which is a financial newsletter that I write every Monday, which I'll send it out tomorrow. It's just been a little bit of a crazy week. We're going to be covering the potential rotation out of a lot of these oil and gas names into more of these value plays back into enterprise software, because from a valuation standpoint, what I think the market was trying to do is front run the Federal Reserve. So we saw extreme PE compression, so price to earnings compression on a lot of these names. And I think a lot of them are buyable now. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Hey, Mets fan is here. Says don't forget the Chinese commercial paper market. We won't. We won't. Good to see you, Mets fan. 1023. Ken Kramer says, Tom, the Dow will go past 40,000 in a few months. The Fed will keep the printing press going. Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting to sort of make the comparison to what the Federal Reserve is actually doing as opposed to what they're saying. I think it's a good observation there, Ken Kramer. Hope you're doing well. So we're on 8th Avenue. Right at the brand new entrance of the Moynihan train station. Life, Liberty, and Guns says, good evening, Tom. Good to see you, Life, Liberty, and Guns. Ruby Falcone is joining us. Good to see you, Ruby. Happy Tuesday. Lee Arnold says, good evening, Tom. Good to see you, Lee. And Chris says, hey, Tom, checking in from Australia. Hello to all the friends in the chat. Good to see you, Chris. Love Australia. Hopefully I can make my way there very soon. Brian says, hey, Tom and everybody. Good to see you, Brian. Abdullah, welcome. Alan Wilson says, we're early tonight. I thought you'd be in Miami tonight. Yeah, so we may be in Miami next week. So probably going to be a couple more days in New York. But next week is a big event. As you guys know, we will be live streaming from the 2022 Bitcoin conference, where we will be live streaming some of the major keynote speeches from the likes of Kathy Wood, Michael Novogratz, and many, many others, including Michael Saylor, which is the CEO of MicroStrategy, which is a very notable enterprise software company. So looking forward to that. Hey, Gigi NYC is here. Good to see you, Gigi. Hope you're having a good day. You know, the city was pretty empty today. I was actually kind of surprised. Hey, Sally is here. Says, hey, Tom, hope you're staying warm. Yeah, Sally, we couldn't stream last night. I mean, it was so cold and so windy. Really, really wild stuff. Hey, I see Rock Band 5 Million says, hey, Tom, good to see you, Rock Band, as always. Hope you're having a good one. Razzle Dazzle 786. Good to see you, Razzle Dazzle. Could we have Mr. Nunez is here? BD Douglas is Wild One Flyers 0. Good to see you. Michelle McGraw is here. Miss Brown Eyes says, hey, everybody, happy Tuesday. 64 degrees here in California. Well, hopefully you guys could send some of that weather down or across the country here, because freezing the past couple days. Hey, Brian says the conference will be a lot of fun. The conference will be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of good content, especially for the newsletter. I just found out one of my really good friends who runs a hedge fund out of Chicago is actually going to be at the conference too. So hopefully we can meet up with him and do an impromptu interview. So looking forward to it. We're going to meet a lot of big players on Wall Street, a lot of big players in the cryptocurrency space. So definitely looking forward to that, my friends. Let's see who else we have here. Alan Wilson says, are you sure you're okay with copyright restrictions on that? Action Kid got suspended by YouTube for the live stream music festival. Wow. Yeah, I mean, Alan, if they take us down, they take us down. But I do have a press pass. So I don't think I'll get copyrighted, but if we do, you know, we got to stick our neck out on the line. FredX says, hey, Tom, good to see you, FredX. Good to see you. Border Ranger says, greetings from warm Florida. Yeah, I really wish it was Florida weather here in New York. But the good news, everybody, I was checking the weather. Supposedly on Thursday, it's going to be pretty nice. Supposedly Thursday, it's going to be pretty nice. So let's look forward to that. The only downside is it's probably going to be raining. So it's going to be warm, but it's going to be raining. Hey, Ken Glass says, hey, Tom, best of luck Friday. You got this. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate you. Daryl is joining us from Chicago, Illinois. Says, hello, Tom. Good evening from Chicago. Welcome, Daryl. So we are standing directly outside of the brand new Moynihan train station, but in the distance here, you could actually see the Hudson Yards. So all brand new buildings. Very beautiful. And I'll give you another shot of the very iconic columns here. This is actually a post office. So the front of the Moynihan train station is still a fully functioning post office. Hey, Sina NSN says hello. Good to see you, Sina. Welcome. Tatiana Oliviera says, I hope your day has been fruitful. Likewise. My day was pretty fruitful. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. Welcome to all of our viewers from Brazil. Hey, Denise Merchant says, good evening and happy Tuesday to everybody. Good evening, Denise. So we're looking right at the Madison Square Garden, the main entrance. Estelle says, looks really nice. Good to see you, Estelle. Estelle is joining us from the one and only Australia. So good to see you. Sebastian is here. Says, hey, Tom. Hey, Sebastian. Hey, Bitsmag TV says, good evening. Copyright problems usually relate to music, film, art, not keynotes, says Bitsmag TV. That's good to know. Yeah, and I think also we do have a press pass, so I had to go through a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of paperwork, but they definitely had to issue the press pass. Hey, UPS says, hello, Tom. Let's talk about the 2 and 10. Let's talk about it. So for a brief period today, we had an yield curve inversion, but some parts of the curve are already inverted. But the main part of the yield curve that everybody talks about and that everybody watches is that 10-year Treasury as well as the 2-year. So a yield curve inversion is when you have shorter dated bonds that are yielding more than long-term dated bonds. And usually, well, historically, as we pass Billy Joel here, I think he was actually playing in Madison Square Garden the other night, usually that is a predictor of a recession. So usually about 9 to 12 months after the yield curve does invert, if history proves correct, we tend to have a recession. But, if you also look throughout history, there's been many times where the yield curve has inverted for a very, very short period of time, and then everything was fine. So it's usually, as they like to say, a head fake. But I think it is very concerning nonetheless. I think there's a lot of sort of activity on Wall Street, a lot of managers, a lot of prominent figures on Wall Street that are probably getting a little bit too bearish. But a flattening yield curve is a signal of a weak economy. So we will keep our eyes on that. But UPS, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the inverted yield curve? Are you concerned? And are you positioning yourself any particular way in your portfolio? Wow, check out I think this may be NYPD police. I know there is an MTA police car, but I think these are NYPD police officers. Look at those horses. Beautiful. Hey, Carol H is here. Hey, Carol. Happy Tuesday. Good to see you. Carl Carpenter is here. UPS 1 says not yet. Could take up to 2 years historically, says UPS. Alan Wilson says Billy Joel says hey. Hey, Fresh Start says hey, Tom. How are you doing? I'm doing very good. Destructionist is here. Says darn, we missed the start of the stream. Good to see you. We were pumping iron. Good Tuesday. What is up, Destructionist? We may actually take a quick U-turn and go all the way back to the Hudson Yards because yesterday was so windy, I didn't even have an opportunity to stream. It was very uncharacteristic. We actually took the day off. So I think since tonight is not windy, I think I want to check out the Hudson Yards. Yeah, Michelle McGraw says, love the horses. Yeah, I think they are NYPD. But I love them too. Very unique seeing horses amongst the big concrete jungle here. Hey, Luis Garcia says, I moved from New Jersey to California. Hey, Luis, we'll enjoy Cali. G Hope says, Tom, I think everyone should put a little gold and silver bullion under their bed. Yeah, that reminds me of like a Peter Schiff at Schiff Gold. Hey, Gregory says, good evening. Sounds like a good idea. Good to see you, Gregory. Hope you're well. We are standing outside of the Madison Square Garden. This is actually the entrance where many of the players and things like that, or if there's any special events, this is actually where the players come out. So they'll drive their cars in here, drive them out after their sporting event or their activity or whatever they got to do. Hey, Daryl says, do you know Cash Jordan? I do, not personally, but I do watch his videos all the time. Hey, Thomas is here. Good to see you, Thomas. Fresh Start says, can you show us the George Washington Bridge? I'm not sure. If we could see it tonight, then I definitely will try to. Lockjaw says, good evening. Good to see you. John says, hey, Tom, I'm just joining in. Good to see you, John. Hope you're well. I see Jay, Lewis, G Hope. Sinjib says, hey, Tom. Good to see you, Sinjib. Michelle McGraw. Diana says, hey Tom, happy to be here. Good to see you, Diana. Yeah, Estelle, there was some, I guess, fireworks flying around on the Oscar night. That you are correct. Hey, Jamie Price is here. Good to see you, Jamie. Hope you're well. Hey, and we have our friend Otto. What's up, Otto? Lee Arnold says, Tom, seeing the NYPD horses reminds me of the classic TV series McCloud. Very cool. Michelle McGraw says, I feel bad for the horses, though. Do you think they tend to adapt well to the city? It just seems they would be happier in a free field. Yeah, I often wondered that as well. I'm actually not too sure. I'd be curious to know that answer myself. Hey, WW's here. Says, hey Tom, what's up, WW? Johnny and the Bulldogs says, how close are you to the French building? That I'm not too sure, the French building. Nick Rock says, I could fairly afford a bullion cube, never mind one made of gold. This is Nick Rock, it's good to see you. So one of the only things, or one of the many things I should say, that I'm watching, and I will be writing about this, I'm almost finished with the Behind the Street newsletter, so I will send that out as soon as possible. I'm watching for this rotation back into enterprise software names, back into the very high growth software as a service names, and out of the home builders. I think a lot of the home builder trade is getting pretty long in the tooth. You know, obviously we're having interest rates go up, so we're seeing that 10-year treasury yield now hold steadily above 2%. I believe a 30-year fixed rate mortgage is now going for about 4.5%, well on its way to 5%. So that may put a little bit of, look at all these cabs. I've never seen so many taxis here. Oh, but I think they made a deal with Uber. Didn't a lot of the taxi cabs make a deal with Uber that now a lot of the cabs could drive Uber or take on Uber rides? Something like that. But I digress. But yeah, so I think yields are going to put a little bit of pressure on housing prices. I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually think that's a pretty good thing. But here's the only other sort of caveat here. You know, even though yields are going up, and even if you could get, you know, a 30-year fixed for 5%, those are still historically low yields. And we have a lot of cash buyers in the market. You know, we had a very telling piece of economic news come out last week that said 25% of all home sales were all cash. So the interest rates didn't even play a part in that at all. Yeah, Life, Liberty, and Guns says, Tom, 5% is still low compared to the early 80s. You're right on that. Hey, the ABX girl says, yes, they're supposed to be on the app. So what are your thoughts about on that? Or what are your thoughts about that, ABX girl? With the whole Uber partnering with the yellow cabs. I'd love to know your thoughts. Hey, the one and only EBITDA says, hey Tom, hope you have a nice start to the week. It is a cold one tonight, yeah. So EBITDA was worse yesterday. It was crazy yesterday. That's why we didn't stream, because the wind was so ferocious. You would think it was the middle of January, but it's almost spring. But EBITDA, now that you're here, what do you think about the all but brief yield curve inversion that we had today? So the 10 and the 2s did invert. Usually that is a sign or a predictor of a recession about 9 to 12 months down the line. Would love to know your thoughts on that as we see this very cool Tesla taxi. I think this is like the second time we're seeing an actual Tesla cab on the stream. Hey, Life, Liberty, and Guns, as we obtained a 7.95% loan in 82, and we were celebrating when we got it. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to put everything in perspective and, you know, put everything into context. You know, there's a lot of big prominent managing directors out there on Wall Street that are calling for Armageddon just because we have 4.5% rates. I mean, it's still historically low, and you also have to factor in that 25% of all single-family home buyers have been with all cash. Now, do I think the market's going to continue to, go gangbusters to the upside? Well, probably not. But I don't think we're going to have a total and complete unmitigated fallout like we did in 2008. It's just things are very, very different this time. But I know that is the famous last words on Wall Street. It is different this time. Andrews is cash cab. Hey, Katia Brutus is here. Good to see you. EBITDA says, yeah, the wind was insane. I'm ready for warmer weather. Same here. Agreed. Al Baker says, anything under 6% rate is a great deal for 30-year mortgage. We've been spoiled for many years. EBITDA says, it is normally not a good signal. I will be interested to watch how the money moves as a result of it. On top of inflation, it is scary. What are your thoughts? So my thoughts is I think this is going to be one of those fake out moments. So we've had many times where the yield curve has briefly inverted, and then we've gone on to reach new all-time record highs in the stock market and the like. So that is sort of what I'm leaning towards. I'm going to put my more conclusive thoughts in this week's Behind the Street newsletter, which I'm a little bit tardy in getting out. But it's just been really, really crazy at work. But I will get that out tomorrow. But here's what I see. I see a lot of opportunity out there, especially in a lot of select software names. So a lot of the names that have been beaten down and really crushed. So talk about any of the SaaS stocks and even some of the larger enterprise software companies. I think we're going to start to see a rotation out of home builder names. So like KB, a lot of the REIT stocks. I think we're going to see a big rotation out of them. And a rotation back into, enterprise software. And I think we're just starting to see that now. But definitely the leaders in, the cybersecurity industry group continues to be Palo Alto Networks. I'm watching ServiceNow. If we can clear a new high in ServiceNow, I'll probably get back into ServiceNow. Obviously, ServiceNow CEO is Bill McDermott, former SAP, software exec. So really, really talented guy. Great company. And I think I see a lot of value in Australia too. And we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about why. Hey, Cosmo Scary is here. What's up, Cosmo? So Cosmo Scary was at CNN today. I think CNN had like an event or something like that. Hey, Santo is here. Says, good evening, Tom and everybody. Hey, Santo. Good to see you. Michelle McGraw, Jerry. Pugs Love Behind the Street. Print copy. The Investigators is Walks on Wall Street. Is it a good thing to buy LHC? I am not sure. Cosmos Scary says, what's up, Saspro? Good to see you. Cosmo, I was briefly down near NYU today. Cosmo says, no, it was a pop-up stand in, Madison Square Park, and they gave away free chocolate. Ah, very cool. I wonder if they're still there, Cosmo. Hey, Falcon Space is here. Says, what's up, Tom? Good to see you, Falcon Space. Hope everybody's having a good one. Out and About says, Tom, your voice sounds different tonight. So we have yet again another new mic setup. So that is potentially why the voice sounds a little bit different. Also because I'm wearing a mask, because it is freezing outside. WW says CNN is trying to promote CNN Plus. So I'm assuming that's a streaming service, in which case we talked about a lot of the streaming service providers on Sunday. I believe it was Oscar night. But this is 34th Street. right next to the Macy's. They're having their annual flower show. I see Edson. Welcome, Edson. But out and about is our great moderator from Toronto. Always good to see you out and about. Hope you are well. Wow, the Empire State Building looks crazy tonight. You know, for me, I think the Empire State Building is one of the most inspirational buildings in the city. You know, the Empire State Building was built during the Great Depression, and some of the photographs that were taken during that time were just incredible, with all the workers building that building, and it was really built in record time. So to me, it's always a staple of capitalism, free markets. Love the Empire State Building. Hey, Obama, welcome. Says, what do you think about Biden's billionaire tax? So we'll talk about that a little bit, but I don't want to get too political, because usually if we get too political, it causes a firestorm in the chat. People go scorched earth. And that's fine. But here's what I think about the sort of billionaire tax. I think first, before you increase taxation, and I'm actually, you know, it's going to sound kind of interesting to folks, because you guys know that I tend to lean more conservative, but I'm actually not opposed to increasing taxes. As weird as that sounds, I'm actually not opposed to it at all. But I think the first thing that needs to be done before you increase taxes on anybody, I think we should first be investing in a more true, transparent system in the United States, where we can have better accounting records of where the tax dollars are actually going. Because if you think about it, and I think we're going to actually lose service here. So let me know if we're buffering, because this tends to be a dead zone. I think, you know, there are software companies out there in the private sector right now that have extremely good auditing capabilities. So it's not, in my opinion, and I'll read the comments. I know I see them flying by, and I promise you I'll read every one of them, so your voice will be heard. But I think first, before you raise taxes on anybody, we need to do a better job of telling the American people where each and every tax dollar is going. Because you could raise the taxes to 100%. You could literally steal every single penny that Americans make, and nothing will ever get better, right? If you have a corrupt yet inept government that will spend the money on BS. And I think a lot of tax dollars right now are going to complete garbage. So I would spend billions of dollars first on auditing software where it makes it a little bit more transparent where tax dollars are going, if that makes sense. Paradial Illumination says, who trusts the corrupt government telling you anything? Nicole says, taxes on unrealized gains. Yeah, so they were talking about that, but that's never going to materialize. It's impossible. It's physically impossible to tax unrealized gains. It wouldn't work. Because if you think about it like this, there was a lot of people during 2020 that became multi-millionaires off of the stock market out of pure luck. Everybody thought they were a genius because any stock you bought in 2020 went up 200 or 300%. It just did. So imagine on all of those people, if you were to tax those unrealized gains. You know, a lot of these people lost all of their money and then some in this recent stock market sell-off. So that's the reason why taxing unrealized gains will never work. Because until you materialize that, companies can go to zero. And, even though Elon Musk and Tesla are doing well now, if you look back throughout history, think of one other company that was also doing really well, but then pretty much went to zero. I could think of one, General Electric. Now, I know General Electric is not out of business, but look at the stock price of General Electric now as opposed to 1998, right? So imagine if, we were to tax General Electric's CEO on his unrealized gains, and today they're worth nothing. So it doesn't make sense to do that. That's just my opinion. So let me read some of the comments here. EBITDA says, Biden is a clown for even thinking, let alone saying those ideas about the unrealized gains. Agreed. WW says, billionaires tax isn't going to pass anyway. Probably not. Alexandru says, yeah, the videos of them building the city were awesome. I agree. Yeah, Obama, Sun Microsystems. Cisco is another one. Cisco was another one of those stocks back in 2000 where after the tech and telecom bubble burst, everybody was like, there's no way that Cisco could go all the way back down and go down 90%. It's Cisco. And to this day, Cisco has still not reached new all-time record highs. I think it's just getting back to record highs now. Gary says, whose government isn't corrupt? That's a very good point, Gary. Off the Hook says, billionaires need to be taxed. They do. They are. Paradial says, Fed prints money at interest, where the interest-free notes created to pay off the 30 trillion debt, of which 40% owed to Fed. Nice Guy says, whose citizens aren't corrupt? Interesting. Cosmo's like Iceland, maybe? Funny. Roz999 says, a big issue is rich borrow against their wealth to live and never realize any gains at all. The borrowing is not taxed. That is true. That is true. So, for example, let's say, and to Roz999's point, fantastic point. Great point. And I think it's important to explore both sides of the argument here. So, for example, let's say if I pay off my house and I have, $500,000 in equity, I could rip that equity out without having to pay any taxes on it and then go buy myself another asset. And I think that's one of the biggest advantages of real estate is you don't get taxed on that if you cash out refinance. So check this out, everybody. But yeah, I could just tell you almost 100%, and I'm usually not 100% on anything. There's no way that they could possibly tax unrealized gains. A guy in Back Bay says, billionaires shouldn't be taxed, Tom. Why hurt progress? Well, I mean, everybody has to pay taxes. I pay taxes, you pay taxes, everybody does. It doesn't matter if you make, $3 billion, $5 billion, or $250,000 a year. Everybody pays taxes. But I see your point. So you're saying, don't disincentivize the most productive citizens. But everybody, that's just a fact of life. You need to, participate and pay taxes. I think Elon Musk paid more taxes last year than anybody in human history. Fresh Start says, did COVID cause people to lose their money? Well, I think it was probably split 50-50 on that. This is why we talk about, and I write about this all the time in the Behind the Street newsletter, about what I call the two-tier society, the creation of the extreme haves and the extreme have-nots. So during COVID, the people who had the luxury of working remotely, working from home, those people actually saw their net worths probably increase by 150% or more. But the working class, the lower class, that their jobs were dependent on physically being in an office, physically being in a store, something like that, those were the people that were hurt really badly. And it just so happens that those are the people who don't have any assets. And what happened during the 2020 COVID pandemic? Well, the Federal Reserve printed 70% of all US dollars ever created in the history of the United States. And that created severe inflation not only in the CPI, but in asset prices as well. So you could talk about your home, right? So if you were a homeowner, you made out pretty good during the pandemic. If you owned a lot of real estate, you made out pretty good. If you owned a lot of equities and stocks and things like that, you made out really good. But here's the issue. If you look at the data, the majority of people who own assets such as equities or real estate, they tend to be the people who are in the top 10% of Americans. So the pandemic really didn't help anybody by sending people stimulus checks. It just gave off the appearance that the government was helping. But in actuality, they were just padding the pockets of the investment banks, the big conglomerates, big tech, and themselves. Hey, Marilyn, good to see you. So we're passing the Cuny Graduate School. It's actually really, really beautiful in here. I wish we could stream here, but I'm no longer a student of Cuny. But if you ever get a chance to go in here, this place is fantastic. Really, really cool. UPS One says they're all lucky. They don't pay 70% like they did in the 70s and 91% like they did in the 60s. Yeah, but a lot of people never really paid those taxes. A lot of people found loopholes to get around them. But I do completely understand what you're saying. Hey, Lisa's here. Says, hey, Tom. Good to see you, Lisa. Welcome. CF says, great insight on stimulus. Good to see you, CF. Wow, check out the Empire State Building from this angle. Lena Sandoval is joining us. Good to see you, Lena Sandoval. Stephanie Stanley says, so right, Tom, on the stimulus checks. Good to see you. Alexandru says, Tom, as I said above, taxes can be increased, but medical costs need to drop. It's unfortunate for people not to be able to afford treatments or go broke if they do. Yeah, it's a good point. And I think that mainly affects people that don't have medical insurance, right? But you're right. I mean, Alexandru, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. If I'm not, I apologize. You can feel free to correct me in the chat. But to your point, if I don't have medical insurance and I get hit by a bus, and my hospital bill is $150,000, that's going to bankrupt me, right? Assuming I don't have the $150,000. So you're right. Hey, War Walker's here. Says I paid rent with it, so that counts for something. Yeah. I'm talking about more on like a macro level, right? So if we think about it on like the bigger picture, like the big macro picture in general, I know the stimulus checks helped some people, right? But if you look at the big picture over the next 20 years, it was a short-term solution or a short-term little band-aid that's going to exacerbate the problem down the road. But that's a good point, War Walker. Hey, Sparks Carnival says home prices nationally rose 19.2%. The biggest gains were in Phoenix with a 32% gain, Tampa with a 30.8% gain, and Miami. Thank you for that. Weirder Santos says the issue is the way the government spent the money from these taxes. Double taxes just send billionaires to Singapore. Yeah, so I think you're 100% bang on accurate with that. And I think that's why we should be investing billions into a conclusive, transparent auditing system for the IRS to see how they, number one, collect tax dollars, and number two, the American people should be able to see every single dime where taxes go. Because I can tell you right now, the vast majority of it is squandered. So you could raise taxes 100%. The government could steal 100% of everything I earn, and it doesn't guarantee that life is going to get better for anybody else. Hey, Denise is here. Good to see you, Denise. So everybody, we're standing on the corner of 34th Street and Madison Avenue. I think we have beautiful views all around the city tonight. I'll give you another look at the Empire from this angle, and then we will also venture uptown to see the brand new One Vanderbilt building. Because let's put it this way, if the government could conclusively show me data, right, on a ledger, a secure ledger, or a blockchain that says, hey Tom, if you pay 2% more in sales taxes, here's a detailed outline plan that is going to make the subways more safer, they're going to be more modernized, and they're going to run on time. I would say sure, I'm all for that. You know, even though you guys know me, I tend to lean more conservative, but I'm not really a traditionalist like many conservatives. And I think that's just because of the thought processes of, you know, the Generation Z and millennials. I like having nice things. Like, if the city can conclusively tell me, hey, you know, if you want to pay a couple more points in taxes, but we can 100% guarantee you that this, and this is going to be fixed, the subway is going to be safe, there's not going to be, you know, slime oozing from the walls, I'd say I'm all for it. But it's not like that. EBITDA says, Tom, the real question is, what do you think of the Will Smith slap? So I caught myself having many different opinions on it, and then I sort of just like muted it from all my feeds. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're Chris Rock, you know, it takes a lot of guts to stand up in front of an audience and tell jokes and present and try to entertain a crowd. So I mean, for anybody in the audience, I mean, anybody in the chat, if you've ever taken a public speaking class in college, you know, the first time you went up there in front of the stage or in front of your peers, you know, I'm sure many of you were nervous, shaking. So how do you think that guy Chris Rock feels? I mean, look, if you go to a comedy show, you know, it's expected that you get made fun of. And I understand that she has a medical condition, but I mean, I think it was a big overreaction. I'll chalk it up to a big overreaction and then move on from it. But the one thing I don't like is that all the tabloids and even some of the mainstream media, such as, you know, CNN and Fox News, they're going to drag this thing out for eternity to try to get ratings. And I don't want to participate in that, because the more time I allocate to that nonsense is the less time I could allocate to be doing something more productive. Because at the end of the day, Chris Rock is still going to be worth $100 million. Will Smith is still going to be worth probably $200 or $300 million bucks. So I think they're going to be fine. But I think it was a big a-hole move what Will Smith did, for sure. But the mainstream media is going to drag this out as long as they can and make as much money from it as they can. So this is the Morgan Library here. This is one of my favorite spots in the city. I think this is probably number 2. Number 1 is the Henry Clay Frick Museum. That's number 1. But number 2 is the Morgan Library. And you know, a lot of the times they'll actually take some of the pieces from the Frick collection and actually bring them here to the Morgan Library. So if you're interested in like the Industrial Revolution, you know, how essentially America was created or came to be, those would definitely be my go-to museums. Number 1, the Henry Clay Frick Museum, and then number 2, which is right here, the Morgan Library. Really, really, probably I'd say the best bang for your buck. You're going to learn a lot by going here. War Walker says, too much testosterone in the house that night. I know. Yeah, I think you're right, War Walker. Perhaps a lot of ego. Alexandros is not backing him up, but we all have moments. Who knows? That's true. But I mean, you know, it takes, again, like I said, it takes a lot to go up and entertain a crowd, especially if you're a stand-up comedian, you're already nervous. You know, and then if you make a joke, you know, what precedent does that set to all other comedians out there? So if I go to a comedy club here in New York and, you know, a comedian tells a joke about, the way I look. Does that give me the right to go up and slap the guy in the face? Because I'll guarantee you this. I actually don't know if I want to say this. Screw it, we'll say it. Wait. No, I'm going to let that one slide. Alexandria says, hey Tom, what inspired you to start these live streams? So I was very bored. Very, very bored during the pandemic. And I wanted to start a financial YouTube channel. But I really didn't want to do it like behind a desk. And I saw everybody else, like great channels like Action Kid walking around the city showing it so beautifully. So I'm like, maybe if I could incorporate the two, it'll give me an excuse to get out of the house. It'll give me an excuse to get out of my apartment during the day. And then I could just incorporate my financial talks with it, and then hopefully meet a lot of people and make connections. And so far it's been really fun. I've been meeting a lot of great people. You guys in the chat are fantastic. Johnny Johnson says Will Smith doesn't deserve a standing ovation. JF says, Tom, how many stocks is a good mix for one's portfolio? So JF, I think it depends on who you ask, but that's actually a good question. I'll tell you why. So today, I'm not sure if you are in our Discord server, but I managed to find a PDF of one of the greatest investing books of all time. And it's called Margin of Safety by Seth Klarman. And he explores that very, very thought. So if you want to join our Discord, and if you go to the markets section of the Discord, it's a whole free PDF. Now, Margin of Safety, if you actually wanted to buy the book, it's going to run you almost $3,000 for the book, because I believe only 2,000 copies were ever printed in circulation, but you can find PDFs online of the Margin of Safety by Seth Klarman. So the reason why I say that is because if you ask a value investor, right, which would be like a Warren Buffett, a Seth Klarman, how many stocks should be in a portfolio, it's going to be a very different answer if you ask somebody like a Paul Tudor Jones or a Stanley Druckenmiller or a Jim Ropel or William J. O'Neill, where these tend to be more sort of like position size as well as growth stock traders. Usually, if you're managing a portfolio, I'll tell you what I do. I have a set portfolio, a retirement account where I just dollar cost average into the S&P 500. So index fund my entire retirement account. It's in the S&P 500 and it'll match the exact movements of the overall indice. The second portfolio is a long short portfolio that I run primarily on Interactive Brokers, in which case at any time there's usually 8 to 12 stocks, and I consider that a pretty high concentration of top leading growth stocks. So you could think about companies that are compounding out their earnings or their EPS 25% plus per annum. I look for companies that have at least 25% higher return on equity, extremely high after-tax and pre-tax profit margins. And then I watch that basket of stocks very, very closely. So if you have too much diversification, you're never going to move the needle on your equity curve. You're never going to move the needle on your equity curve at all. But if you have just the right amount of stocks and hard concentration, and if you hold for 12 to 6 months or 12 to 16 months through a couple earnings reports, you're going to generate some pretty good alpha there. Hey, Jack D is here. What's up, Jack D? Good to see you. Tina Toomey says, hey, Tom and all mods. Obama, welcome. Good to see you. Nick Rock says, funny how we're all talking about the slap at the Oscars, but there's very little being said about Lady Gaga helping Lisa Minnelli on the stage. Yeah, so I don't really even watch the Oscars. The only reason why I saw the Oscars was because of the Will Smith thing. Buy the book says, hey Tom and everybody, good to see you. Buy the book. The Cam Doggy, good to see you. David, welcome. John says, why is the book so expensive? I think it's because there's only 2,000 physical copies in circulation. Alexander says, Tom, if you look at the video, his wife gave him that look, therefore he was probably motivated by that if it wasn't staged at all. That's a good point. Lizzie Hatch says, what's really going on? Good to see you. Hey Yogi, good to see you, my friend. Sparks says, Disney took a stand yesterday publicly opposing Florida's Don't Say Gay law. Andrea says, that's great. Glad I stumbled upon your channel. Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate it. If you guys are enjoying the stream, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you are new. Cora says, I enjoy... one second. EBITDA says, yes, I have a custom indexing strat based off the S&P 500, but I can actively tax loss harvest on top of right covered calls, etc. Definitely beats just buying the S&P ETFs. Yeah, EBITDA, it's a very good point. So EBITDA, the way I have it set up, so to your point, I'm like, look, I'm going to allocate 15% of my overall income and just dump it into the S&P. So even if I blow up the hedge fund, I'm still going to have a retirement that's going to be worth millions. You know, if you just take 15% of your income and just index it and leave it there for 70 years, you're going to be worth a couple $1 million. I mean, unless America ceases to exist, because corporate profits tend to increase over time. You know, Peter Lynch, there's a really good book if you want to read it. Everybody, EBITDA's probably read all of them. But it's called, I'm blanking on the name, but it's by Peter Lynch. It's called One Up on Wall Street, and he talks about corporate earnings in America over the past 100 years. And stock prices over time will tend to follow the trajectory of corporate earnings. So earnings matter. So long as America is existing and thriving, over time the S&P 500 should appreciate. Hey, Nicholas says, you once told me about a tech sales job, SDR or something. Dog, I believe. Yeah, so Datadog. Maybe we were talking about Datadog. So I think Datadog's office is actually in the New York Times building. But yes, an SDR is considered a sales development representative, and those are usually entry-level positions into enterprise software sales, but it's a very good starting point. So this is the Bank of America tower here for our friend EBITDA. The one right behind it is the H&M building. And then we have Salesforce Tower. Falcon Spaces, what's the best index fund to invest in? So I'll answer that with a book recommendation. I would read Common Sense Investing by Jack Bogle. And you could actually, I think if you type !Bogle in the chat, the Nightbot will actually drop the free audiobook. So you don't even have to buy it. You can just listen to it for free. It's called Common Sense Investing, and it's all about index funds. So I think if you want to learn about index funds, it's probably best to learn from the... Wow, check out that Tesla taxi right there. I think it's best to learn from the man who pretty much created them. So John Bogle, or Jack Bogle as he was known on Wall Street, was the former CEO and creator of the Vanguard Group. And he really went to war against a lot of these egregiously priced mutual funds on Wall Street that were charging what's called a front load fee and a back load fee, that were really stealing from investors. Because you got to understand, the real way Wall Street makes a lot of their money is from fee income. right? It's the fee income. It's actually not being a good investor at all, as they would like you to believe. It's how can we increase our fee income at any cost? And one of the ways you do that is anytime a customer is trying to buy into your fund, you charge them 5% and a front load fee, then you charge them an annual management fee of like 2%, and then if they ever want to sell out of their funds, you hit them over the head with the 5% fee for a back end load fee. So Jack Bogle knew this and he understood this, and he's like, look, what if we created a product with minimal fees, no loads, and the average American citizen could just dollar cost average into the index fund of the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ or the Dow Jones Industrial Average and keep it for their retirement accounts. This way, their gains aren't getting eroded by the egregious fees from Wall Street. So check out that book. It's called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by Jack Bogle. But we are now outside of the Steven Schwartzman building here. Hey, EBITDA, this is my dad's next door neighbor. Is/was Vogel's right-hand man at Vanguard. Wow. EBITDA, I think you told me that before. That's insane. EBITDA, maybe you can get us in there for an interview. Just kidding. Nicholas is realistically, what can a sales rep make at Datadog their first year? Is it salary plus commission? Yeah, so Datadog is just like an example of a company, right? There's many enterprise software companies, but you have, account executives out there at some enterprise software companies making millions of dollars a year. It's sort of like the Pareto principle. You have 20% of the sales reps making 80% of the commissions, right? So, as I like to call it, you have equal opportunity with unequal results. So, since they're a newer, I'd say, I'm not going to say new company, but newer. I mean, as an SDR, your base salary is probably going to be, I don't know, maybe $60,000, and then you're at risk at 100% quota attainment is probably going to be like $95,000 a year. But if you exceed your quota, you could make more. But the goal is to move from an SDR to an account executive where you're actually closing deals. And from there, your base salary is probably going to be around $100,000. And then your on-target earnings are probably going to be like $175,000 a year. But if you exceed your quota, you're probably going to be making, $200,000, $250,000. And once you get to enterprise account executive, where you're selling software into the Fortune 500 or Fortune 50, your base salary is probably going to be, $150,000 to $200,000, with your on-target earnings being in like $350,000 or $400,000. So speaking of enterprise software, here we have the Salesforce Tower right here, one of my favorite buildings in the city. Hey, Spark says, Uber was up 6% this morning after the agreement to add San Francisco taxis to the app. Last week announced we'll offer New York City taxi rides on the app. Yeah, so I heard about that. I got to do a little bit more research into that. But I think that's probably a pretty good thing, especially with all of these taxis that got ripped off in that taxi medallion scheme, as I like to call it. Hey, somewhat knowledgeable geek. Good to see you, my friend. Falcon Space says, I'm 28. Is it too late to invest in an index fund? The average American at 28 doesn't have any assets, so I think you're pretty early. You gotta realize that. I mean, the vast majority of people in America, when they're 28 years old, don't even have anything in their net worth. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's never a problem to start investing. Can you guys still hear me? I think my mic may have went out. Hey, Levy Perk says, hey everybody, good to see you, Levy Perk. Hope you're well. Fourth quarter says, what taxi medallion scheme? Well, here in New York City, unfortunately, there's some people that have taken out, hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans in order to buy a taxi medallion. And I think we won't get too far into it. If you Google it, you could learn more about it. But there was very predatory lending tactics there. I mean, to let somebody take out like a $500,000 loan to buy a taxi medallion when it's a declining industry, I think is a little bit unethical. I'd probably never sell someone that loan, but that's just me. But hopefully this will be a way to get those people out of a tough situation. But if you just go into YouTube and type in taxi medallion crisis, there must be a lot of documentaries that'll pretty much outline the big problems with it. Got it. Copy that. Hey, Poon Adam is here. Good to see you. Fourth quarter. Welcome. Somewhat knowledgeable geeks says, Tom, I believe it might be like 60% of Americans don't have stocks. It's a sad thing, and it's how divided our financially our country is. Yeah, you're right, and I think that just plays into my thesis of the big wealth divide in our country. Because stock markets could be at all-time record highs, but that doesn't necessarily mean the economy is doing well. The old saying on Wall Street is the stock market is not the economy. So we're approaching Madison Avenue. This is 42nd Street. So if you walk all the way down this way, you're going to hit into Times Square. Hey, Gregory is here. This is a company in Minnesota owns a lot of those New York City medallion loans. Some of the drivers were protesting here yesterday. Wow. Yeah, it's a big issue, and it's really sad because, over the past couple of years, and I think it's been going on even longer than that, there's actually been a lot of taxi drivers that have unfortunately committed suicide over this. And, I'm really not for bailouts, but if we have money to bail out the big Wall Street investment banks during the 2008 financial crisis, I think we can bail out all of these people who got suckered into these taxi medallion scams. But that's just my opinion, but I digress. Sparks says they should teach financial literacy in school, in my opinion. Yeah, so I think Florida became the first state where they mandated the teachings of financial literacy. But this building is the One Vanderbilt building right here on the corner of 42nd Street and Madison Avenue. Really beautiful looking building. Hey, Western Mass Dave is here. What's up, my friend? Good to see you. Western Mass Dave says, did I hear Taxi Driver? I heard it was a good movie. I have yet to see it. But we'll get around to seeing it. A little bit of a fun fact. In this building, this is where I had to pay the rent of one of my first apartments ever in New York City. I had to pay the rent right in this building. So I would go in here the first of every month. Hey, Muhammad is here. Hey, Muhammad. Good to see you. Hey, Liz says, I took a class in high school where we pretended to have a stock portfolio and actually looked up stocks in the newspaper. That's awesome. I wish I took a class like that. Although I did take a class in high school called business math, but the ironic thing about that is it was considered the class where all the dumb kids in high school took it. But I actually found it pretty helpful. We learned actually how to do taxes. So we had like a demo TurboTax account, and the teacher actually walked us through how to do physical taxes and just basic accounting. And the funny thing is, I found out that the year I graduated high school, the year I graduated was the last year at my high school that they offered that class, and they actually fired the teacher who was teaching it and cut the program out of the school. As funny enough as that sounds. So here we are, everybody, Pershing Square. Oftentimes when we think about Pershing Square, we can think about Bill Ackman, hedge fund manager, that is most famous, well, I probably shouldn't say most famous for, but I'll say it anyway. He is most famous for his extremely hilarious and entertaining fights with billionaire Carl Icahn on CNBC. Obviously, he's not most famous for that. I think he's most known for that, perhaps. Alan Wilson is like newspaper. What is that? Fourth quarter says that taxi medallion scam is heavy. Penelope says, Tom, watch Taxi Driver. I haven't gotten around to it yet, Penelope, but I definitely will. I promise you that. Dogman says he said today he is done activist short selling. Wow. Yeah, so Dogman, that was a big debacle with the Herbalife, and usually I forget that, but you know, Herbalife was considered one of those, and I think it still is considered that, in my personal opinion, one of those multi-level pyramid schemes, I guess you could call them. And, you know, I guess the way the story went is Carl Icahn had a massive long position in the stock, and, you know, Ackman had a pretty sizable short position. His thesis was pretty compelling. I actually read that short thesis when he put it out. And supposedly, you know, I have to say allegedly because, you know, the company is still around. Allegedly, the company Herbalife has been using predatory sales tactics to target minority communities, not only in the United States, and more, I would say, economically depressed communities. So supposedly there's empirical data where Herbalife is targeting those people specifically to try to sucker them into these sort of MLM style type pyramid scams or schemes. And his thesis was actually quite compelling. And so I still hold the view that Herbalife is one of those sort of pyramid style companies. But then again, Ackman lost a lot of money on that trade. Hey, Bitsmag TV, good to see you. M-Size, Tom, what was your view on Adobe as an investment? Well, Adobe reported earnings last week, had a great quarter. You know, one of the things I like about Adobe is the predictability in not only their earnings growth, but their revenue growth, and they have amazing profit margins too. Really, really good margins on that. So Adobe is a good company. A little bit more mature of a company, but very good nonetheless. Dogman's is interesting. I'll have to look into it. Only know of moms who sell that stuff. Yeah, so I have to say allegedly, right? Because the company is still around and it's still trading. But check out, I think you could probably find it on the internet. It was a publicly published short thesis on Herbalife. Somewhat Knowledgeable Geek says, I had somebody I was dating paired me up with her advisor. I talked to him. When he told me the prices, I hung up. Over the years, he would still text me. I blocked his number. It's shady as heck. Oof, yikes. So here's what I think we'll do, if you guys don't mind. Let's take a walk around the inside of Grand Central Terminal just briefly, because I do want to warm up. It's still cold here in New York. Oops, sorry about that. So we will venture on inside, and I'll show you guys around the inside of the Grand Central Terminal, where you can get the Metro North to upstate. Yep. Yeah. All right. Here we are, friends, in Grand Central Station. I think they're doing construction on the second floor here. Hey, I see sunshine after rain. Good to see you. Lady O is here. It says temps in the 20s now. Very chilly. Winds don't help. Yeah, Lady O, it was more freezing yesterday, to be honest. Today was a little bit more warm. I think probably the only reason for that is because the sun was out. Hey, Abdullah's here. Good to see you, Abdullah. So this is the main concourse here at Grand Central. Obviously, you can see the very famous clock tower in the middle. Sparks. I do not own Adobe personally. So every stock I make a comment on, it's not like I own it personally, but I wouldn't be too concerned about Belarus and Russia specifically, because I think a lot of those things are more news headlines than actual validity impacting the bottom line or sales. So if you're worried about it, I would look up what the percentage of Adobe sales are in Belarus or Russia. And I'd probably place a lot of money on that. It's probably not a big percentage of revenue. Hey, the Mighty Bull is here. So Mighty Bull, this is for you, my friend. Let me see if I can get it. So if we look at the ceiling, this is the Mighty Bull. For our pal Mighty Bull in the chat. I'll zoom in a little bit. Hey, OP Chan, good to see you. It says, hey all, it's 35 degrees right now in New York. It feels a little bit colder than that, probably just because it's windy. But good to see you, OP Chan. Hope you had a good Tuesday so far. So within the Grand Central Terminal, you can get the train to upstate New York. Yeah, Gummy Bears is a lot went into Grand Central Terminal. Supposedly before all the mega skyscrapers were built around Grand Central Station, during the day you could see these incredible beams of light coming in from through the pane glass windows down into the terminal. But ever since we built these incredible skyscrapers, that light ceased to exist. But if you do go on the internet and Google search it, you can see some of the original photos of Grand Central Station that are incredible. Hey, Jetstar says, hey Tom, what do you think about the startup quiver in the email I sent? Jetstar, did you send me an email? I tend to check my emails every day. I don't think I saw it. I'll have to check my spam. But could you please send it again? Tom M says, how many individual stocks do you own? How about taxable mutual funds? So Tom M, I actually do own one mutual fund. And I probably even shouldn't be in it, but I'll tell you guys the ticker just for transparency. The ticker is BGSAX. It is a BlackRock fund, so I do have some of my assets there. Mainly because the portfolio manager is a really, really smart, good guy, which I respect a lot. And it invests into a lot of like the enterprise tech companies, enterprise software companies that I know a lot about. But that is not an endorsement to go buy this fund. It is a pretty expensive fund in terms of management fees. So yeah, don't go out and buy the fund. But it is that is the ticker, BGSAX, which is the BlackRock Technologies Opportunities Fund. So that is the only sort of taxable mutual fund I have that I let BlackRock manage. Hey, the Mighty Bull is here. Says thank you, Tom, and all the members in the chat. Hey, Mighty Bull, good to see you, my friend. So I'll give you guys a shot of the other side of the terminal. But Tom M., the second part of your question, then I do have my main retirement account, which I only have just indexed in the S&P 500, and then in my interactive brokers account, that's where I run my long-short portfolio. And at any time, I usually tend to have it between 8 to 12 stocks there. Yeah, Abdullah says, great shot. I love this place here. And the good news is, for all of my Long Island viewers, supposedly the Long Island Railroad East Side Access Project will conclude relatively soon. So you will be able to take the Long Island Railroad right here to Grand Central Station. Right now it is still only the Metro North that you could take to upstate New York to places like Ossining, or Ossining as they call it. Hey, Anna Ma says, greetings from Guatemala. Welcome to all of our viewers from Guatemala. Gene Costa says, I love America. Good to see you, Gene. Thank you for the compliment. Gummy Bear says, Grand Central has a huge lost and found department. Yeah, you know, I was actually watching an interesting video online about the Penn Station lost and found department too. So here's my favorite shot of all time. The American flag with the very iconic, I guess you could call them chandeliers in the background. Hey, Claire is here, says hello from London. Good to see you. And then we have the Apple store here. Jimmy B, welcome. So we'll walk out the back side of Grand Central Station. Ann SM says, is this station on 9th Street? It is not. It is on 42nd Street. So if you guys are enjoying the stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. Western Mass Daves is still waiting for a railway from Albany to Boston. Doesn't the Amtrak do that? I could have sworn the Amtrak you could probably get there. Hey, Cole is here. Greetings. Says, hey, Tom. Evening, everybody. Good to see you, Cole. Cole, any luck with the house? Wondering if you got any offers. Yeah, check out the painting on the ceiling here. Sunshine after rain, good to see you. Cole says no solid offers yet. It's been 3 days. Interesting piece of information there. Hey, Carter says, hey, Tom, what's up from Stratford, Ontario? Missed you last week. Hey, Carter. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Photos from around New York says the Gray Bar extension. Here we are right here, Gray Bar extension. So everybody, I did want to mention we've been covering a lot of things tonight on the stream. If you want to see a more conclusive look and more of my thoughts about the economy on specific stocks or the market overall, I will be sending out the Behind the Street newsletter to everybody via email tomorrow. So if you type !news, N-E-W-S, in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link to the Behind the Street newsletter. If you punch in your email, you will be able to receive it for free every week. My thoughts on the market, both domestic and emerging markets. But more importantly, this is the one and only Chrysler building right here. Beautiful building, one of my favorites, right here on Lexington Avenue and 42nd Street. Hey, Vlad says, hey, Tom, really love seeing your Midtown, or really love seeing Midtown and really like your images and commentary. Really hoping Snowflake stock comes back, says Vlad. Good to see you, Vlad. Thank you for the compliment. Yeah, so Vlad, I'm going to be writing about the potential rotation out of a lot of the home builder stocks, a lot of the value, a lot of the oil and gas, and into enterprise software. We could potentially see that, but even though this market has recovered, it's still relatively thin. The only leaders that we're seeing are in oil and gas and the like, and the home builder stocks are starting to roll over, and I think that could probably be due to higher interest rates and things like that. Hey, John says, Tom, I like the Chrysler building too. Yeah, it's one of my favorite buildings in New York for sure, 100%. So we'll cross Lexington Avenue. Hey, Gummy Bear says, Tom, ever been to a New York City late night talk show? I went to Seth Meyers in 2018. Wow, that's awesome. So I haven't, but I actually probably would like to go to one. I think if I were to ever go to one, it would probably be Stephen Colbert. Hey, South Beach Traders has really enjoyed the walk through Grand Central Station. Thank you, so many memories. Hey, South Beach Trader, thank you for being here. So South Beach Trader, at the very beginning of the walk tonight, or the show or the podcast, or really whatever you want to call these, we were talking about the very brief yield curve inversion that we had today. The 10-year Treasury and the 2-year Treasury did invert, with that 2-year Treasury note now yielding more than the 10-year. Usually that is a big recession predictor, but this could be a fake out. I would love to know your thoughts, South Beach Trader. Gummy Bear says, Stephen Colbert, interesting. Mainly because, I'll tell you why. It's not because I think he's the funniest. I think it's because I like that particular theater the best. Does that make sense? I think it's the most iconic looking in New York. So a little bit of a fun fact, this Dollar Slice Pizza, this is the greatest dollar slice place in the city. Right here. Right next to St. Andy's Church. Hey, Marilyn is here, says, Tom, you started your... Yeah, so we did start the YouTube channel in April of last year. It is almost coming up on a year, so I appreciate everybody who's been watching the streams, who's been hanging out with us every night, talking about really anything, finance, the economy, New York City, Miami. So I really do appreciate it, everybody who's been here. We've been doing it for about a year now, so thank you so much. Hey, Cindy Foley is here. Mia Gunn says, hey guys. 48 is here, says, evening Tom, hope you're well. Good to see you, 48. Jones Schwartz says, hello Tom, how are you? I would love to see John Oliver. That'd be cool. Tim, or M sign, I think I just saw a rat, says, hey Tom, what are your thoughts on inflation? I think inflation is going to continue to get worse. I think our last CPI print was about 7.9%. Ooh, look at all these mini rats. You see them? I'm not sure if you guys could see that on the camera there. I think these are like baby rats here. Look at them all. I'm not even sure if the camera will pick them up, but they're so tiny. They're all in under here. Oof, man. Dang, look at all of them. Crazy. Ruby Falcone's like, oh no. John, good to see you. Hey, Vlad says the Ed Sullivan Theater is stunning inside. I caught Letterman right there before his retirement. No way. Jeez. Yeah, Vlad, I'm definitely going to have to go there. 100%. You know it's cold out in New York when you have the steam pipes here. Hey, Arturo Flores says, hello, Tom. I missed your stream yesterday. Yeah, so there was no stream yesterday. It was so cold that I could not stream. And usually, I mean, for me not to stream, it has to be pretty cold. I'm trying to see if there's any more rats here. Sometimes they pop out at us here. All right. So now we're crossing. So we just passed Lexington Avenue, so that means this is 3rd Avenue. We're going to head down a bit. Hey, Talvish is here. Says, hey, Walks in Wall Street. Good to see you. Hey, Talvish. Hey, Manthony is here. Good to see you. Abdullah says, New York City Rats. Good to see you, Abdullah. 48 says, we are in autumn now, but it's still warm here. Yeah, 48 is joining us from New Zealand. Always a great place. So we'll see if this works. If you guys scan this QR code, let's see if it'll focus here. I don't know if it'll focus. Let's try it. If you scan the QR code, you will be able to, it'll bring you to a website called the Behind the Street Newsletter. If you punch in your email, you will be able to receive the Behind the Street Newsletter for free. So let's see if the QR code works. Let me know if it'll scan. But I will be sending out the Behind the Street Newsletter tomorrow after the closing bell. So if you punch in your email, you will be able to view it. So when we get to the corner here on 42nd Street next to this Tesla, which I think is a model, what model is this? Maybe a Model Y? Let's see. You're going to see a crazy view of not only the One Vanderbilt, but Salesforce Tower as well. So this is 42nd Street crossing 42nd. And you should be able to see the One Vanderbilt. Wow, Sherry says the QR code worked. I scanned it on my television. Very cool. Good to see you, Sherry. So this is East 42nd Street and 3rd Avenue here. Hey, Nicole James says there was a party at One Vanderbilt last night with Eric Adams at a promotional event for Wells Fargo credit card. Wow. I didn't know about that. He was urging people to get their butts back in New York City from Florida. Yeah, well, I mean, I think if you want to have a broad-based economic recovery, I think his biggest thesis is you got to get people back to the office. Hey, Willix is just joining in the chat from Barbados. Good to see you. Hey, Ken Glasses Tom, how did you make the QR code? So there's a website called freeqrcodegenerator.com. And I just made it on that. But if you guys scan that QR code, it's going to bring you to a web page. If you punch in your email address, you will always receive the Behind the Street newsletter updates for free every single week. Hey, DWG says, Tom, the Model Y will soon get the latest battery technology. Looking forward to that. Good to see you. Hey, Techno Pink is here. What's up, Techno Pink? Always a pleasure to see you, my friend, from the Dominican Republic. Techno Pink, check this out. So this is the main entrance right here to the Chrysler Building. Off the Hook says, what's the benefits of the newsletter? So I wrote a comprehensive financial newsletter, not only talking about the US equity markets, but also emerging markets as well. So I like to take the best ideas that I see on the market and try to contextualize them into an easy to read newsletter. So the idea is, instead of having to read the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Investors Business Daily, I'll read all those for you guys and pick and pull the best things and the most notable things to pay attention to. Because I think that one of the industries where I see is very prime for disruption is media. There's a lot of content out there, and I think the vast majority of it is noise. So every day, if you read the Wall Street Journal, there's probably only about 20% of the content in the Wall Street Journal that's going to be of value to you. I think a lot of the other stuff is going to be junk. So I try to understand what's going on in the financial markets for the week, and then in under 2,000 words, try to put on paper in a way sort of how I talk about what's going on in the market, what are the top companies to pay attention to, and also we briefly cover, specific book recommendations, events that are happening in the city for networking and things like that. So I try to keep it clear and concise. Hey, Carmen is here. Welcome, Carmen. Says, hey, good evening. Good to see you as always. Long time no see, Carmen, so good to see you here. Hey, Ed Potke is joining us from the one and only Corning, New York, and upstate. Good to see you. So we are passing the Cipriani here. This is the main one outside of the Grand Central Terminal, right here on 42nd Street. Very beautiful inside this building. They have many events, many weddings, and various other things right here. And it's right across the street, very conveniently located across the street from the Grand Central Terminal. Hey, Marcelo says, my name is Marcelo. Good to see you, my friend. JPEG says, more scaffolding. Yikes. Wow, check out the front doors of this place. They're probably going to scream at us for getting too close, so I won't get too close. But this is the Cipriani on 42nd Street. And if you guys want to see an interesting piece of history, there was incredible footage shot outside of the Cipriani on Wall Street, right outside of the Deutsche Bank, during the 2008 financial crisis, when a lot of the Occupy Wall Street protesters were actually protesting right outside of Deutsche Bank, which is a famous German investment bank. And there's very iconic footage of big Wall Street executives on the balconies drinking beers and wine and champagne, laughing at all the protesters of Occupy Wall Street. So check it out. It's a really, really iconic piece of footage, and you could probably find it on YouTube. But in the distance, you can see the MetLife building. Hey, Jimmy Anderson is in the chat. Good to see you, Jimmy. As always. Okay, so we will walk under the bridge here, Pershing Square, and we will head back into Midtown. Hey, Jeff is here. Good to see you, Jeff. So here we are, Park Avenue, Pershing Square. Yeah, Vlad says, Tom, Vanderbilt Plaza is incredible. Ooh, the wind is starting to pick up, but I think you guys will be shielded from the wind due to the microphone. Hey, Mac Lex 13 says, Tom, you're walking towards the New York Public Library now. Indeed we are. Hey, Ed Pocky says, I quit my job, but life goes on. Wow. Ed, well, hopefully, you're on to bigger and better things, my friend. So good luck to your future endeavors. I'm sure you're going to do a good job in whatever you choose to do next. Western Mass Dave says, Steven Schwartzman, indeed. Oh, so Western Mass Dave, I finally finished that book that I was telling you about. The Power of Xero. Very good book if you guys are looking into anything involving tax efficiency or tax strategy. Would definitely recommend that book, The Power of Xero by David McKnight. And the foreword of the book is actually written by one of the greatest CPAs of all time, local native New Yorker, Ed Slott. And Ed Slott actually went to Adelphi University right here in Garden City, New York on Long Island. And he has a practice right now in Rockville Center. So Ed Slott is an expert in all things retirement accounts. So you could talk about IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, etc., etc. So I think everybody, as you start to accumulate more wealth, you should really start to plan and optimize for estate planning, especially as you get older and pass on your assets to maybe your kids or something like that. You really want to build a fortress of diversified assets and tax havens. So please check that out. Western Mass Dave is like, wrong guy, but I'll take it. Oh my God, sorry, Dave. Hey, Jay says, good evening, Tom. What's up, Jay? I think if photos from around New York is still in the chat, we're about to pass a very famous cigar store that unfortunately closed down. It's all covered up with scaffolding, so you won't be able to see it. It's covered up with scaffolding, and unfortunately it looks like a homeless encampment. But this is one of the most famous cigar places in New York. Right here. It's sad to see it all abandoned and boarded up. Nat Sherman, there we go. See, what would I do without photos from around New York? Yeah, it's sad that it had to close down. I mean, that place was so iconic. All right, everybody, we made it back to 5th Avenue. And you're going to have a great view of the Steven Schwartzman building, or the New York Public Library. And if I turn the camera a little bit more to the left, you can actually see the very top of the Empire State Building. Hey, Nicole James, good to see you. Paul P. Hello, Paul. This building's actually fantastic too. During the day, it even looks even better. Hey, Chris Beeman, thank you so much for joining. Chris Beeman is our friend out of Arizona. So good to see you, Chris. Hey, Rich Pog is here with the, what is the frog called? The meme frog? I forget his name. Yeah, Ruby's like beautiful with the American flags. You know, Ruby, there's actually a better shot. So we may go there tomorrow. So on 5th Avenue, right outside of Madison Square Park, it's actually a better shot than it is over here. I forget what the building is. I think it's called the... I'm horrible with names. But we'll go there tomorrow. It's an incredible shot of the Empire State Building with all the American flags. I forget what building it's called. It's like the Taylor Building or something. Ah, Pepe. Yeah, Pepe the Frog. There we go. You know, one of my clients has, in my Christmas gift, he sent me a Christmas gift, and in the gift, there was a pin, or in the box, was a pin of that little frog guy. And I was like, so when I went to meet with him, I actually wore the pin to dinner on my tie, just as a little bit of a troll move. Life, Liberty, and Guns. The cigar store was Nat Sherman. Yeah, I mean, on the outside, it used to look amazing. But I think they actually tore all of the facade off of the building, too. But here's the Empire State Building. Gregory, good to see you. Gumby is here. Is this hey? Hope you're well. So just to give you guys an idea of how far we walked, from here you could actually see the Chrysler Building and then the One Vanderbilt. Sabrina Fair says, hey Tom, did you read Larry Fink's Larry Fink's letter to investors a few days ago? I didn't read the whole thing. I read the summary of it in Barron's about the Russia-Ukraine situation, but I'm probably going to take some time tomorrow to read the entire thing. I think, Larry Fink, definitely, probably smart to pay attention to. But what did you think about it, Sabrina Fair? Hey, Wendy England, good to see you. Lori E says, hello everybody, good to see you. Lori, Cole, welcome. Hey, Christy in Iowa is here. Good to see you, Christy in Iowa. Thomas says, what camera and mic are you using? So we are streaming on an iPhone 13 mini with a $13 microphone I bought off of Amazon. But we used to stream from an iPhone 11. But I did drop the phone and broke it. Hey, 25. 2557 Hockey says, Tom, those were rats. Those rats were Jerry. Good to see you. Hey, Thomas says, Mike sounds great. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. Fantastic name, by the way. Brad's Brain says, Fink is smart, but the globalist approach scares the heck out of me. Yeah, I think, when you're running billions, well, not even billions, in his case, trillions of dollars worth of assets, I think your tendencies start to shift towards sociopathic a little bit. Yeah, so photos from New York, it's not. I was actually here today. There's still a little bit of construction going on at Bryant Park. But hopefully tomorrow, if we can stream earlier, maybe we'll get a chance to walk around Bryant Park. Hey Gene, good to see you. Hey Colleen T says hello from upstate New York. Good to see you, Colleen T. Near Mass, love this, thank you. Hey Colleen, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. If you guys are enjoying the live stream, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you are new, as we are passing the Salesforce Tower here. So we're gonna head uptown now. We are just passing 42nd Street. We are directly under the Bank of America Tower here, in between 42nd and 43rd on 6th Avenue or Avenue of the Americas. I'll actually give you guys a shot of Bryant Park. I mean, not of Bryant Park, of the Bank of America Tower. Food says, why are there no cars on the streets in New York? Hey, Gilbert says, hey, Tom, good to see you. Good to see you. Hope you're well, Gilbert. Jay says, Tom, how's the battery life doing? Not doing too hot. We are running low on the battery here as we're passing Fidelity. Oh, cats, not cars. No cats. So food, just to give you guys true honesty here, I am dyslexic. I jumble around words and numbers. So I'll read cats, cars, really horrible. But cats, you know, I don't know. It's a good question. In Miami, there's tons and tons and tons. Was that a guy? Oh, it was. In Miami, there's tons of cats. Literally, there's thousands of cats in Miami for whatever reason. No, but Cole, that is true, actually. It's a little fun fact. Yeah, Tina Toomey, it's been a struggle. Yeah, Cosmo's like, Tom, we need to import all the Miami cats to eat the New York rats. I have probably like 10 or 20 cats that sit outside my house in Miami. So this is what the underworld looks like in New York City. Ruby says, you do a great job though, Tom. It is frustrating, especially when I'm doing presentations in front of clients and things like that, where I'm reading off numbers. I'll be like, yeah, it's about $567. And they're like, 657? And I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, I jumbled them up. Sorry, apologize for that. Hey, Penelope's here. Penelope is joining us from the one and only Tennessee. What's up, Penelope? Good to see you. Somebody says, what is another fun fact about you, Tom? I don't know. I don't really have any fun facts. All right, here's my old office right here. $11.66. You know, there's a big quantitative shop on Wall Street right in here. Oh, I guess the only other thing I could think of. Yeah, G Hope says Tom is 5'3". That is true. That is true. Hey, the Reflex says, hey Tom, how long is the stream? We usually stream until the phone goes dead. Yes, you're right. Like the insurance company. So I didn't work for Marsh McLennan That's just the building's name. There's a ton of there's a ton of companies in there, but Marsh is the biggest company in there. We were on the second floor, and then we had D.E. Shaw, which was a quantitative hedge fund on Wall Street, which they were above me. Hey, day's work. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're well. Let's check out what's on this post box here. Sabrina Fair says, yay, 5G could cook my brain. Yikes. I guess the only other interesting thing, it's not really interesting. So all of my eyelashes on my left eye, they're actually all white. They're like see-through white. Alfred's is enjoying from Arizona. Hey, Alfred, good to see you. So now we are passing News Corporation, and News Corporation actually just acquired one of my favorite newspapers of all time, Investors Business Daily. The deal was a $125 million deal. And now News Corporation owns not only Wall Street Journal, but Investors Business Daily and Barron's as well, right in this building. Hey, Pixel Logic, good to see you. Hassan B, welcome. Rusty says, how many eyelashes? I have the normal amount of eyelashes, but they're just white. Mr. Whiskers says, that's a great fun fact. Thanks, man. Cynthia Beals, Tom, I think that is a birthmark. Yeah, I think it's called vitiligo. But yeah, just my eyelashes are white. Okay, 48th Street headed towards Radio City Music Hall. Dennis Henry. I'm not sure who that guy is from the San Diego Padres are. Brad's Brain says you have two different color eyes. Ah, very cool. Alan Wilson says, mark that down to the answer a $100 question on Jeopardy, facts about Tom category. Hilarious. So there's actually a pretty good restaurant in here. I keep forgetting the name. I'm horrible with names. But it's a good steakhouse, a very good steakhouse. Del Frisco's. Wow. Gee, hope you got to tour the studios there. That's awesome. Ooh, I don't think there's a big line for a Del's Famous. I may have to get that tonight for dinner. To be determined, though. Hey, Lars says, hey, Tom, would love to see your eyelashes. Maybe one day. One day we may be able to see it. Well, I think I do have photos of myself on my IG. So if you look in the links in the description of the video, you could just maybe see if you could zoom in on my eyelashes or something kind of weirdly on Instagram. Tina Toomey says, how do you remember names? I have a hard time remembering names too. So I remember names of people really well, but just not buildings and places. Yeah, so Life, Liberty, and Guns. This is Del Frisco's is excellent. I always take clients to Del Frisco's. Really good place. Really good environment. Western Mass Dave's. Tom, it's 10:23 and no dinner yet. So I did have dinner. I got dinner at this place called Dim Sum Sam near Madison Square Park. But, you know, I think if we walk about 5 miles on the stream, I probably burn, over 500 calories, maybe more. So I need to eat at least one more time. Hey, Powerbach. This is Tom. What time is it now? I would like to know myself if we could do a quick time check in the chat. But this is where they film the Today Show. Hey, Anthony. This is Hey, Tom. At what time do you work in the morning? Various times. I'm trying to set my schedule later in the day. Colleen T, good to see you. Carmen says, at Tom, what do you think about trading Bitcoin? Is it a scam? So Bitcoin is not a scam, but I think what you're seeing a lot online are a lot of nefarious actors out there that are saying, hey, you know, if you email me or you message me on Telegram or WhatsApp, you know, I could trade Bitcoin and make 1,000% return. That's all a scam, right? That's just people trying to steal your money. But the concept of Bitcoin is not a scam. But there's always going to be nefarious actors that will use Bitcoin to try to scam you. So I think if there's anybody out there, doesn't matter what they're sort of claiming, if they're saying, hey, we could get you guaranteed returns, anytime somebody uses the terms investing and guaranteed in the same sentence, you know it's a scam. So if anybody's trying to promise you guaranteed returns in anything, it's definitely fraudulent activity. But here we are at the beautiful, beautiful Rockefeller Center. And they took down the ice skating rink and are preparing for the long-awaited, much-anticipated summer. So we're looking forward to that. Parking full-time. Good to see you here. Hey, Demtix is here. Says, hey, Tom, good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody had a good day. Parking full-time. Says, yes, getting something for nothing is always a scam. Agreed. Yeah, Ruby Falcone says that was a cool shot. Wasn't that a cool shot? You know, Ruby, it's better during the winter because you could actually see the statue there with the skaters in the background. Carmen says, at Tom, thanks, I thought so. Somebody on Facebook saying 80% return and he gets 20%. Yeah, so Carmen, anytime, and trust me, I've been doing this a long time. I know I'm young, I'm only 26, but anytime you have anybody advertising guaranteed returns, and especially if you have to pay them money, it's a scam. It is a scam. But Bitcoin in and of itself, like let's say if you wanted to buy it for yourself and hold on to it yourself, you don't have to pay anybody for that, right? You own the private keys to your own Bitcoin, in which case you could hold as an investment. That isn't a scam. But people saying, hey, you know, I'm in a Facebook group and I'm trading Bitcoin and I have guaranteed returns, you just have to pay me 20%, that is a scam. You know, I wonder what they're going to put here. Hey, Thomas is here. Says, are they going to be having people rollerblading in Rockefeller Center now? Oh, they are? Really? I didn't know that. We'll have to do a rollerblading stream. Just kidding, I can't rollerblade. But here's the one and only famous 30 Rock here. Yeah, Ruby says, I hear the police. Message in a bottle. Hey, Kim Grant is here. Good to see you, Kim. Yeah, let's see if the police will demonetize. But I think it's worth it. So now we are going to be walking up to the one and only Saks Fifth Avenue. And maybe we'll get a chance to take a look at St. Patrick's Cathedral. So we'll see. It looks like there's some giant... we always have this cam bot, this bestcams.fun bot every night on the stream. So it looks like this is a spade of some sorts. Very cool sculpture here, guys. What do you think? It's ironic that the bot shows up right when we're talking about frauds. But check this thing. This is so cool. It's like a spade or a shovel or something. Very unique. Hey, Colleen T says gardening. Good to see you. Sparks, his thoughts on meme stocks, GameStops, and AMC. I usually don't talk about them because I think they sort of encourage the wrong type of investing behavior.
This is St. Patrick's. Yeah, if you want it, you can come daytime. It's open.
So in my personal opinion, I just wouldn't even pay any attention to them, to be honest. So let's see if you guys could scan the QR code. It says scan the QR code to read more. Let me know if you guys could scan it. So if you scan the QR code, it will tell you a little bit more about the sculpture here. All right, now we have St. Patrick's Cathedral. Cosmo Scares, I call a spade a spade. Jerry says the website is unavailable. Wow. Hey, Vane Chung, good to see you. Hey, JPEC43 says, love your city, Tom. Thank you, Jay. Hopefully you'll get a chance to visit very, very soon. Wow, check out this. I was going to tell you the name of the store, but I always pronounce this wrong. So I'm just going to show it to you. I'm not going to bother telling you what the store is. Wow, this is really cool. Cole, you're right. That's the one. I think a little bit too green for me, right? Yeah, lines says that it's very green and yellow. I think a little bit too green for me, but then again, they're probably trying to be festive for St. Patrick's Day. But perhaps a little bit of overkill. Yeah, Ruby, is like it is decorated green for March. Overkill on the green. Yeah, they're really going to town on the green on that thing. Gangbusters green. Hey, 2010s, I'm from Brazil. Welcome, good to see you, and thank you for joining. That's the new color of the crystal, Gangbuster green. Overkill. So we'll walk past Radio City Music Hall, and then we will continue back down to the Moynihan train station. Vane Chung says, love that green, Tom. Cosmo Scary says, we hit the Brazilian algorithm tonight. You know, Cosmo, it's weird. We have a ton of Brazilian viewers. When I look at the YouTube analytics, about 15% of the audience is from Brazil. So love that. Love Brazil. So this is how you get up to the top of the rock. Top of Rockefeller Center here. Hey, Carol Reevy, appreciate you. Thank you for joining. So just a quick recap of the stream. We briefly started off by talking about the yield curve inversion. So that 10-year Treasury note and the 2-year are now inverted. We talked about a brief sign of recessionary activity. Oh, it looks like there's a show coming out of here. Very cool. Let's see. Hey, Fernando, what's up? Fernando, what's up, man? You know, Fernando, I was walking past Bryant Park today and it was freezing. But when it gets a little bit nicer out, we got to play some ping pong in the park, man. Fernando, we got to do a ping pong park stream. Well, I wonder what's getting out here tonight. Wow, really cool. Hey, Nicole James, Tom, how many viewers from the UK? I think we have about maybe 8 or 9% of the viewers from the United Kingdom. I think the top 2 is US and Canada. I think Ireland's up there too. US, Canada, Ireland. Wow. Does anybody know who's coming out of here? Well, I guess I could just read it, right? SNOH. Cosmo is like they came out to see you. Funny. Cole says she's a singer. I don't know her though. Yeah, it seems like she's pretty popular now. But I think we'll try to get out of the area because there's probably going to be a lot of congestion. Not only in the traffic, but in the network too. Fernando, I was just talking about the, what's it called? The Adele's Famous Halal across the street. Very tempted to get it, but I think I'll probably hold off until tomorrow. Brad's Brain says, what an electric group of people. Yeah, I think we're going to get piled up here with the Ubers too. Lemon Lane says, Tom, what do you think about Chris Rock getting slapped? So we covered that a little bit. I don't really want to hammer on it too much, but I guess just my overall thought process there is a little bit inappropriate, I guess. And that's probably as far as I'll go. Yeah, Fernando. Adele's Famous is Definitely the best halal in the city, but the problem is the line is always like 2 hours long. It's crazy. Even though the line may not look long, this is probably like a 2.5 hour long line. Oh, hey. Fernando, we have to, man. Sabrina Fair's like, check the line. Carmen says, Tom, what is halal? So halal is like a traditional food. So it's sort of like you have kosher food and then you have halal food, right? So I believe the way the animal is killed makes it kosher or halal. Is that correct? I mean, I could be butchering this and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate comments. Food nonetheless, but I'm not sure like the definition of halal. I believe it's how the animal is killed. That's what I believe. A lot. But I believe kosher food, it's a specific way the food is prepared, and then halal, I believe it has to do with how the animal is or something. Ah, right. But this is Del Frisco's fantastic steakhouse here in New York City. Really, really good stuff here. Hey, Sylvia's here. This is good night, everybody. Good to see you, Sylvia. Always good to have you here. Ah, Thomas is blessed by the rabbi is kosher. I think it also had to do something with, I thought it had to do something with like dairy or something as well. I could be wrong. But if you guys want the best halal food in the city, it's right there. Hey Khan, thank you. Says it has to do with buying from your own religion, kosher / halal. Ah, very cool. Thank you, Khan. Appreciate it. And thank you for the $5 donation. Yeah, Vane Chung says looks like a nice place to have a steak. But thank you, Khan, for the donation. Very kind of you. I appreciate it very much. So we are headed towards Juniors, the one and only Juniors. Yeah, Cole's like a live streamer tutorial after an Excel tutorial. You know, I actually do want to try to incorporate some Excel workbooks in the Behind the Street newsletter. So be on the lookout for that. But everybody, next week we will be live in Miami at the 2022 Bitcoin conference. So we are going to be seeing some big names on Wall Street, like Michael Novogratz, former managing director at Goldman Sachs, turned hedge fund trader at Fortress Investments here in New York City. And now he has created his own cryptocurrency institutional onboarding exchange called Galaxy Digital Assets. So we will be there. Oh, look at all these tourists here. That's good to see. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel to see that. But right behind us is the BNP Paribas building, which is a French investment bank, and there was actually a helicopter crash a couple years ago on that building. I was in the city that day working in my office. It was a quite frightening day, but thank God nobody was really hurt except the pilot. Obviously, unfortunately passed away, which is horrible, but there was no additional casualties or injuries or anything like that. But it was right on top of the BNP Paribas. Hey, Ernest Martinez Jr. says, yo, hit the like button. I appreciate it. Hey, Gene says, yup, am subscribed now. Thank you, Gene. Appreciate it. Thank you for the support. So, Fernando, quick question. In Bryant Park, I think they provide all of that stuff for you. I don't think you need your own ping pong paddles, do you? Hey, Nicole James says, Tom, you mentioned April 1st is a special date. No, I think we've just been streaming for a year. Oh, April 1st is when they announced the results of the H-1B visa. Or I think it's March 31st. I don't think it's April 1st. But speaking of investment banking, we are right outside of the Morgan Stanley building here. And I think Carol H. used to work here for a short time. I could be mistaken, but I think Carol H. worked right here, Morgan Stanley. Has anybody ever stayed at this Crown Plaza Hotel? It almost looks like it's out of business. Yeah, Cole, I think it's either April 1st or March 31st now. So now we're on 48th Street, headed downtown. Could we get a quick time check in the chat? I just want to make sure we are right on time. But we did cover briefly the inversion of the yield curve, those 10 and the 2s. One of the things that I'm watching that I'm going to write about, go into it a little bit more detail, a lot of the home builder stocks, so the single family home builders, some of the REITs or the real estate investment trusts, they're starting to roll over here. And that is a little bit of a concern, mainly because rates are going up, right? So that 30-year mortgage note is bumping up right on 4.5, probably on its way to 5%. Now, the only other thing of conflicting information, I really shouldn't say conflicting, but I guess something to even it out, is 25% of all home purchases last quarter were all cash. So 25% is significant. So in that instance, we could probably draw the conclusion that there's a lot of institutional buying of homes. So not for the purpose to live in, mainly for the purpose to rent out to other people. So even though we're going to have some yield pressure here, I think the demand is still high. That, you know, even if we get a 10% correction in housing, that will probably be bought. EBITDA says rotate out of real estate into large cap value or long short. Yeah, EBITDA, I think you have a good point. I think you're probably going to be right. You know, a lot of those single family home builders are actually starting to roll over right now. And if you look throughout history, it's usually the home builders roll over first before we see housing price declines. So I'm actually looking for a lot of more value plays in enterprise software, surprisingly, because, you know, we just went through an incredible PE compressionary period where Wall Street sold down a lot of these names, which probably shouldn't have been sold down as much as they were. Sabrina Fair, good to see you. Uh, 1047, thank you, John. Appreciate it. Lady O, good to see you. Lady O is our moderator from New Jersey. Always good to see you, Lady O. Cole says, I'm not happy rates are going up. I'm going to be in the buying market in the next year. First time buyer. Very nice. Hey, buy the book, good to see you. Dallas is here, says, hey, Tom. Hey, Cynthia Martinez is here from the 305. Cynthia, hope you're well. So I think Fresh Start is still in the chat. So he always likes to see the H&M building. So we'll show you the H&M building, which is right near the NASDAQ. Or the NASDAQ is in the basement, I believe. Yeah, Michelle McGraw is like, oh my God, Tom's in Times Square. So uncharacteristic of me. Alton says, hey Tom, how's it going? It is going very well. Thank you for asking. Appreciate it. So we'll take a walk past the NASDAQ building, and this is actually where they shoot a lot of the squawk on the street as well. Hey, Jetstar is here. Says, we're so used to mortgage rates below that way. Oh, hey, what's going on? So we do a live show on YouTube. It's called Walks on Wall Street.
Yeah.
So we walk around like New York City and Miami, and we talk about like the financial markets. So
That's the one nothing fun.
say again? No, nothing fun. But if you guys want to, that's the channel.
It's not for kids.
Yeah. So see you later, guys. Take it easy. Michelle McGraw says, I left it when I came back. I was on the wrong channel. Cole, good to see you. Dallas's amazing view in Times Square. Yeah, very seldom do we go to Times Square. Sometimes I'll take a walk through it. I mean, I really only like to go to Times Square to see the NASDAQ, because this is actually where they shoot squawk on the street. You know, also back in the day, I think they actually sold their studio back to CNBC, but Investors Business Daily used to do their market wrap-up report right in the basement of this building. But I'm not sure they do it anymore after the Dow Jones bought the company. So I think after Dow Jones bought, or News Corporation bought Investors Business Daily, they do all of that stuff from the Fox News studios. I don't think they do it here anymore. But we'll see. If all the signage is up, maybe they do. Oh, I thought they were doing the some protest. So I walked past here the other day, and they were doing, I think it was a global, well, not global, I think it was a national birds are fake protest. I guess you shouldn't call it a protest, but it was a lot of people that think all birds are fake. They think they're like surveillance drones. So squawk on the street, squawk box. Yeah, I think the Investors Business Daily, yeah, all of it is gone. But yeah, this is where they do the squawk box right here. Carmen says, Tom, do people on the street get mad at you for filming? Not really, because I really try to avoid people. I tend to stream late at night, like 8:30, and I tend to intentionally avoid people. Hey, Rocky Left Wing is here. Good to see you, Rocky. Fred X's drones, I knew it. Thomas is, do you have any stock tips? So I don't really like giving out individual stock tips, but I do like giving broad-based financial education. But I think the best way to get that, if you sign up for the Behind the Street newsletter, if you type !news, N-E-W-S, in the chat, the Nightbot will drop a link to the Behind the Street newsletter where every week I send out sort of like a financial markets wrap-up. But also, if you join the Discord, I tend to put a lot of free links to audiobooks and things like that. I was able to find an original copy of Margin of Safety by Seth Klarman. So I downloaded the PDF and I posted it in the Discord. So if you want to read one of the greatest value books, or the greatest value investors book of all time, you could read Seth Klarman's Margin of Safety. You could read the Seth Klarman's Margin of Safety. So at Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway meeting I think this was about 10 years ago now, something that he said, well, he was asked a question, he's like, hey Warren, if there's any other person besides yourself that we should listen to, who would it be? And he couldn't really think of anybody, but he's like, if I had to say somebody, it'd probably be Seth Klarman and Phil Fisher. And Phil Fisher, obviously, he was the founder of Fisher Investments. His son runs Fisher Investments now. So if you want to read another good book, it's called Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits by Phil Fisher. I think those are probably the two greatest investment books of all time. Hey, Brad's Brain, thank you, my friend. Thank you for joining the stream, Brad.
Of course, yeah, happy to do it anytime. So, seriously, don't we got a whole team, right? So
Western Mass Dave.
yeah.
Hey, Disney cast members here. It says, hey, Tom, all the iguanas in Florida are fake. Yes, they are. Disney, good to see you. How do I feel about Stanberry research? I'm going to need a little bit more time. Whew. Thought that guy was going to get hammered. I'm going to need a little bit more time to give a more well thought out view on that. We're coming up on the end of the stream, and I don't think I could, right now at least, I could provide the answer I want to give you. So let's rain check that for tomorrow. I promise I will go into detail about it. But Disney cast member, it's good to see you, my friend. Elliott Wave Review, good to see you too. Hope you had a good Tuesday. Yeah, Amazing Airshow Videos is the book. The Disciplined Trader is a good one too. Amazing Airshow Videos, all of the Market Wizards books are very good as well. All of the Market Wizard books are very, very good. But I think if you're just starting out investing, I think probably Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits by Phil Fisher is probably the go-to. That or the little book of Common Sense Investing by Jack Bogle. Hey, Bagels and Walks are here. Good to see you, Bagels and Walks. War Walker says, Tom, love Paris Spaghetti. Yeah, so it's something that's interesting.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Suit me.
Oh yeah, it's we do a live show. It's called Walks on Wall Street.
Hi. I just say hi.
Oh hey, how are you?
Hi.
Hey,
Thank you.
good to see. Michael says, do you think Benjamin Graham's principles are relevant in today's market? So I think you should probably read it, but a lot of the Graham Dodd books and things like that, I think you should probably read them. I like the question about, is it applicable to today's market? Because ever since the 2008 financial crisis, I think the markets have fundamentally changed. Obviously with all of the quantitative easing. And I think ever since the introduction of algorithmic trading, right? So usually Benjamin Graham and Warren Buffett are more value investors, so they try to find mispricings in the market. But I think their mispricings in the market are very few and far between to find. So I think I would still probably read all of the, Dodd-Frank and Benjamin Graham stuff. But just know that, especially in a market like this, you can have stocks that are going to have PE ratios in the hundreds, 200, 300. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely been a debate on Wall Street for many years now. The value investors and the growth investors, for sure. Roy S., I appreciate that. Western Mass Dave says, Tom, I would like a Walks on Wall Street mug. I'll get you one. I'll make you one and I'll mail it to you, Dave. Hey, Tech Explores NYC. My friend, what's up? Good to see you, Tech Explores NYC. Hope you're doing well this evening. Hey, Dallas says, hey, Tom, good seeing you. It looks beautiful tonight. Thank you, Dallas. It's good seeing you, too. It's always a pleasure. British Gray, the one and only from Tampa, Florida, is joining us. Good to see you, British Gray. William is here. This is Good Evening, NYC. So here we are at Gotham Hall. ZA7LAG IYAWA7SH is here, and he says, bro, why is New York City so empty? What happened? It's almost midnight, I believe. Tina Toomey, this is Turkey. Good to see you, Tina. Hey, Lodi says, hey, Tom, hope you've been well. I have been good. I've been very good. Very busy day at work today. Very positive. Working some big deals. Hopefully they will close by mid-year. Hey, Michael K says, hey, everybody, and good luck. Good to see you. Marty Lewis is here, the one and only. Good to see you, Marty. Marty, what are you thinking about this crazy winter weather we've been having in New York? Well, hopefully, supposedly, Marty, on, what was it, Thursday? I think Thursday it's supposed to get all the way up to 70. So supposedly Thursday it's going to be up to 70. Hey, Miguel Garcia. Good to see you, Miguel. Sabrina Fair. Good to see you, Sabrina. Mustache Milk does this hello from Tampa, Florida. Love Tampa. Hey, Ken from Tokyo. What is up, Ken? Says, appreciate your high quality live stream. Cheers. Ken, thank you so much. Ken, if you really live in Tokyo, I really want to come and visit Tokyo. I've never been to Japan. And I would really like to go. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the stream as we are here at the Macy's Flower Show. Tom, do you use the cue as your battery dying to end the stream? Usually, we do. Yeah, so here we got all the Macy's Flower Show stuff. Brian's his fingers crossed. Photos from around New York says battery running out. Classic ending the stream.
Elle me pousse à bout. Et je fais, bah, tu sais quoi? Dans ta gueule.
Yeah, Tina, to me, you're right. I do have to conserve the battery. Especially if I'm taking the Long Island Railroad. Because at nighttime, the conductors do not joke around at all. I got the guys like, we do not accept stories on the train, only tickets. Was there a sort of a sports game tonight?